Seven.
Look here. Look here. Look here. Seven. Look here. Over here. Over here. Seven. Smile.
Some of our favorite movies, the ones we quote endlessly, rewatch obsessively, and swear were fueled by undeniable chemistry, were actually held together by a thread of pure, unfiltered loathing. Behind those smoldering glances or hilarious banter were actors who couldn't stand each other, barely speaking off camera and counting the minutes until wrap. Some iconic performances were born not out of friendship, but out of mutual irritation, clashing egos, and sometimes full-on screaming matches. Turns out nothing brings out an award-worthy performance quite like the burning desire to never work together again. I'm Seven McAllister for 7 Entertainment. Let's take a look at 7 movies where the actors hated each other. Now, before we get into that, we appreciate your support, so if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and give a little old nudge to that notification bell. Number 1. Fighting Dirty. For a movie that practically perfected the hot people fall in love through dance montage genre, Dirty Dancing sure had a pair of leads who wanted nothing to do with each other off camera. Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze may have been sizzling on screen, but Swayze almost didn't get the role because Grey was still pissed off at him for how he treated her on the set of their earlier film, Red Dawn. During an appearance on The View, Grey would say, "Patrick was playing pranks on me and everybody. It was just like macho and I just couldn't take it. I was just like, please, this guy, that's enough with him." Once Patrick had apologized to Grey and landed the role of Johnny Castle, Swayze, a classically trained dancer with the work ethic of a Navy SEAL, was all business. Grey, let's just say she didn't always bring her A game, unless her A game involved giggling mid-scene and cracking up during serious moments, which, to be fair, is kind of adorable unless you're trying to passionately slow grind in a lake. In an AFI interview, Swayze would say, "When we're doing those dance sequences and everything, and she's crying and she's giggling, those moments really work because they're real. They just took pieces of Patrick and Jennifer working together as attempting to be a dance team, and my real frustration, I'm trying to keep this girl serious." Honestly, it's a miracle Johnny didn't mambo right out of the Catskills by week 2. Of course, nothing fuels cinematic magic like mutual annoyance. The tension between them actually worked. When Swayze lifts Grey in that iconic finale, you have to wonder if the real motivation was just to get her up and out of his personal space for like a solid 3 seconds. In the end, Dirty Dancing became a cult classic, proving once and for all that you don't need to like your co-star, you just have to look like you do while talking smack about the pachanga. It's kind of poetic that a movie about breaking rules and pushing past comfort zones was anchored by 2 people who could barely stand to make eye contact unless the cameras were rolling. Number 2. Riddle Me Pissed. If you thought the real challenge of Batman Forever was having Val Kilmer replace Michael Keaton under the cape and cowl, guess again. It was the sheer, unfiltered loathing Tommy Lee Jones had for his co-star, Jim Carrey. Picture this, Carrey, fresh off of Ace Ventura and The Mask, bouncing around the set like a Red Bull-fueled pogo stick. Jones, a grizzled veteran of serious cinema, forced to endure it all while wearing purple facial latex and flipping a coin like he was deciding whether to walk off the set or just punch someone in the face. Carrey once told the story of running into Jones at a restaurant during filming, and what happened sounds less like small talk and more like a hostage negotiation. Carrey would say, "He got up shaking. He must have been in mid-kill me fantasy or something like that, and he went to hug me and he said, 'I hate you. I really don't like you.' And I said, 'What's the problem?' He pulled up a chair, which probably wasn't smart, and he said, 'I cannot sanction your buffoonery.'" Wow, that's not shade, that's a whole solar eclipse. Coming from a guy who was literally playing a cackling, coin-flipping lunatic in a cartoonish Gotham fever dream, the irony is almost beautiful. Jones hated Carrey's whole vibe like a boomer hates TikTok. To be fair, Carrey was being very Carrey at the time. He was the human version of a confetti cannon. Their dynamic was less buddy cop and more restraining order pending. Every time Carrey mugged for the camera, which was frequently, you could practically hear Jones's internal scream. Somewhere under that hot pink villain makeup was a man wondering what decisions led him from The Fugitive to filming a scene where he had to cackle in unison with a guy in a question mark onesie. Jones may not have sanctioned Carrey's buffoonery, but the audience kinda did, and weirdly, Jones's Two-Face was so far removed from the classic portrayals that he was more Joker than Harvey Dent, but that's probably what Joel Schumacher wanted, being the person who introduced the world to the Bat credit card. Ah well, sometimes the most cinematic chaos comes not from harmony, but from barely concealed mutual contempt, wrapped in spandex and glitter. Number 3. Road Rage. Mad Max Fury Road is a 2-hour symphony of fire, sand, and silent stairs, so it's only fitting that behind the scenes, Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron were locked in a battle just as intense as anything that happened on screen. Turned out the real apocalypse wasn't in the desert, it was in the trailer parking lot. The duo, who were supposed to be portraying a reluctant, high-stakes partnership, reportedly could not stand each other. Hardy was intense, methody, and prone to disappearing into actorland for long stretches, while Theron, a consummate pro with no time for nonsense, was stuck waiting in full grease and dirt ensemble while her co-star found his moment. Translation, she was pissed, and honestly, fair. In one instance, Hardy showed up 3 hours late to set, and when he finally did arrive, Theron let him have it. In Kyle Buchanan's oral history, Blood, Sweat, and Chrome, the wild and true story of Mad Max Fury Road, camera operator Mark Golnick would say, 11 o'clock, she's now in the war rig, sitting there with her makeup on and a full costume for 3 hours. Tom turns up and he walks casually across the desert. She jumps out of the war rig and she starts swearing her head off at him, saying, find the fucking $100,000 for every minute that he's held up this crew. And how disrespectful you are. She was right. Full rant. She screams it out. It's so loud. It's so windy. He might have heard some of it, but he charged up to her and went, what did you say to me? He was quite aggressive. She really felt threatened, and that was the turning point because then she said, I want someone as protection. That's right, things got so bad, a producer had to be assigned to literally monitor their interactions. That's right, they had a mediator, like divorced parents trying to get through a birthday party without someone flipping a table. Later, Hardy admitted he was kind of a jerk on set because he didn't understand George Miller's vision at first. And to be clear, this was a film where the plot was explained via flame-throwing guitar, so yeah, confusion is somewhat understandable, but maybe don't take it out on Furiosa. Yet somehow all that icy silence and real-life loathing worked. Their characters weren't supposed to like each other. They were two traumatized loners forced to trust one another in the middle of a sandstorm from hell, so every glare, every grunt, every begrudging non-respect, that wasn't acting. That was two professionals making gold out of grudges. Number 4, not McLovin' It. Oh, Superbad, the foul-mouthed, heartwarming high school comedy that somehow made friendship feel more epic than any romance ever could. But while Seth and Evan were codependent soulmates on screen, behind the scenes, Jonah Hill and Christopher Mintz-Plasse were, well, less besties for life and more, do not talk to me unless the camera's rolling. So here's the deal. During auditions, Christopher rolled in like a teenage agent of chaos. He was confident, weird, and according to Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill, just a little too much. Jonah especially wasn't feeling it. Apparently, Christopher's whole vibe rubbed Hill the wrong way. Maybe it was the confidence, or maybe it was the fact that he basically stole every scene as McLovin, an ID-wielding icon with a single name and zero shame. Whatever it was, Hill reportedly told producers not to cast him. Naturally, producers were like, perfect, he's hired. In a Vanity Fair oral history of the movie, producer Judd Apatow would say, Jonah said, I don't like that guy. I don't want him doing it, and I said, that's exactly why we're hiring him. It couldn't be more perfect. The fact that it bothers you is exactly what we want. That initial tension didn't exactly vanish once the cameras rolled either. While the chemistry between the three leads is now legendary, Hill and Mintz-Plasse reportedly bickered during filming like two guys forced to share a group project, and neither wanted to do the PowerPoint. Hill was trying to carry the emotional center of the movie, while Mintz-Plasse was just out there turning every scene into his own personal showcase. But guess what? That awkward vibe totally worked. McLovin wasn't supposed to fit in. He was the third wheel with no sense of shame and too much swagger. Hill's visible discomfort, that was real, and it made every moment feel hilariously, painfully authentic. Fast forward a few years and the beef has mellowed out. Hill eventually admitted that the clash came from being protective of the film and feeling overwhelmed, which is fair. Imagine pouring your soul into something and then a 17-year-old wild card walks in and becomes a cultural phenomena. But in a weird way, the friction only made the film better, because Superbad wasn't about a perfectly smooth friendship, it was about how messy, codependent, awkward, and lovingly hostile teenage friendships really are. Number 5, throw the book at him. With The Notebook, you'd think the biggest conflict was, will they end up together? But no, the real drama wasn't in the rain-soaked kiss or the Alzheimer's plotline. It was Ryan Gosling desperately asking someone, anyone, to get Rachel McAdams off that set. Yes, the swooniest romance of the early 2000s was powered not by passion, but by passive aggression and a healthy dose of yelling behind closed doors. Apparently, Gosling wasn't feeling all that if you're a bird, I'm a bird energy during filming. At one point, he actually asked the director to replace McAdams mid-scene. Imagine being in a hot and heavy love story. Your co-star's like, hey, could you literally bring in any other woman? The tension got so bad they had to drag the leads into a screaming match in a room just to clear the air. Not exactly the whole Nicholas Sparks vibe. And yet, out of this emotional junkyard fire came one of the most beloved romantic comedies of all time. The chemistry that fans wept over was apparently forged in absolute chaos. It's kind of brilliant when you think about it. Gosling and McAdams channeling pure frustration into torrid passion. Their scenes sizzling not because they adored each other, but because they were one sarcastic eye roll away from storming off the set. Of course, the greatest twist of all is that after the movie, these two supposedly star-crossed enemies dated for years. Maybe mutual loathing is just foreplay in Hollywood. I mean, we get it, hate sex is pretty hot. Or maybe pretending to love someone while actively resenting them is the ultimate boot camp for an actual relationship. Either way, it's a great reminder that movie magic often comes from the messiest, pettiest, I hope you choke on your craft services rap kind of places. Love wins eventually, but not without a few off-camera shouting matches first. Number 6, Brawl and Angel. Oh, Charlie's Angels. That glossy, slow-mo filled fever dream of early 2000s girl power, wire foo, and inexplicable Crispin Glover screeching. The chemistry between the Angels was fierce, but the real behind-the-scenes explosion? That came courtesy of Bill Murray and Lucy Liu. According to legend, and frankly too many people who were definitely in the room, things got heated when Murray, mid-shoot, decided to offer Lucy Liu some constructive criticism, and by constructive, we mean allegedly telling her that she couldn't act. Liu, understandably, did not respond with quiet reflection. She reportedly stood up, cursed him out, and may or may not have thrown some punches. Murray, ever the wild card, apparently got along fine with Drew Barrymore and Cameron Diaz, but when it came to Liu, the vibe turned to vinegar real quick. Some claimed it was ego, others chalked it up to a clash of styles, which is Hollywood PR speak for someone got real mouthy and someone else wasn't having it. Years later, Liu confirmed they had words, but she said she stood up for herself when disrespected. Of course, Bill Murray did not return for the sequel and was replaced by Bernie Mac, who, shocker, managed to not insult his co-stars mid-scene. Oh, and much love to Bernie. He and Phil Hartman are the celebs whose loss absolutely hit me in the feels. Murray's defenders chalk it up to his eccentric genius, while loose fans saw it as a Queen moment of not taking crap from a comedy legend. Either way, the incident lives on in the annals of Hollywood feuds that are way more interesting than the actual plot of the movie. Because let's be real, the bad guy in Charlie's Angels wasn't Sam Rockwell, it was unresolved workplace tension in a high-kick jumpsuit. Number 7, Some Like It Angry. In the classic comedy Some Like It Hot, Tony Curtis had a tough gig, playing a man pretending to be a woman who was pretending to be a man with a British accent while wooing Marilyn Monroe on a beach. What he didn't sign up for, apparently, was Marilyn Monroe's Marilyn Monroe-ness. According to Curtis, working with her was like wrangling a glittering, late-arriving tornado. She constantly missed call times, forgot her lines, and needed cue cards hidden in drawers, closets, and even Tony's own instrument case. He was not amused, and very much not subtle about it. The legendary shade came in the form of an interview quote where Curtis said kissing Monroe was like kissing Hitler. Now, was that a little over the top? Absolutely. Do we resent Curtis for making us wonder what it's like to kiss Adolf? Also yes. Curtis later tried to walk it back, claiming it was a joke that got twisted, but by then, the damage was done, and the quote was etched in cinematic gossip forever. You don't compare the most famous sex symbol in the world to a genocidal dictator and then pretend it was all fun and games. Monroe, for her part, wasn't throwing barbs in interviews, but that might have been because she was too busy battling anxiety, morning sickness, and a hostile set, where no one, including Curtis, seemed to cut her any slack. Now, whatever Curtis thought of her, she still managed to steamroll through her performance with one wiggle of her hips and that whispery, bombshell voice. If there's one thing worse than working with someone you can't stand, it's realizing the audience won't remember you, they'll remember her in that dress. Yet somehow, Some Like It Hot turned out to be a masterpiece. The chemistry on screen is undeniable. Monroe's vulnerable, smoldering sugar cane is perfectly matched with Curtis's increasingly chaotic drag act. It's hard to believe any one of them wanted to scream into a pillow between scenes. Well, there's our list. Did we leave out any other movies where the actors hated each other? So please leave them in the comments section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tippity tap that notification bell. Until next time, I'm Seven McAllister for 7 Entertainment saying bye-bye.